The Quest 2 is getting a huge performance boost. And we also got some big news regarding the upcoming Quest 3 headset. So let's dive right into it. After Meta just announced their brand new VR headset, they also gave all the Quest 2 users a big new feature. Because in the coming software update, they announced that the Quest 2 will get an insane performance boost of 26%. And this also goes for those owning a Quest Pro. And this can be an absolute game changer because developers can take advantage of this by creating much smoother gameplay as well as richer content and higher graphics. And to take it even a step further is that they enable the dynamic resolution scaling, giving games the advantage of increased pixel density without dropping any of the frames. Now, Meta hasn't announced the exact day yet of when this update will go live, but we can be sure that it will be a massive change. And the best part of all, it is all on the same hardware, meaning soon you will be able to play better games without needing to do anything at all.
Nice.
But another big feature that is coming with this update is the brand new virtual keyboard. And if you've been using your Quest for a while, then you might have already experienced this problem before. Because at the moment, it is possible to bring up a virtual keyboard, but it is far from perfect. Because it will appear as a crude overlay that is in a fixed position, showing your translucent ghost hands until you are finished with typing. But the problem is that it feels completely out of place, since it will render above all the other apps that you are using, no matter what other virtual objects are actually placed in front of you, and with it, it often completely breaks the immersion. But Meta's new virtual keyboard is solving these problems, because instead of just using an overlay, it actually tracks your position within the app itself, and it can work with either your hands as well as your controllers, even letting developers choose between direct touch or laser pointers at distance. However, there is one big limitation, since this will only be available for Meta VR headsets, so other platforms like the PlayStation VR 2 or the Pico 4 will not have this feature included yet. And although this brand new virtual keyboard was introduced as an experimental feature earlier this year, you will now be able to completely make use of this feature since it will be integrated into the next big software update. But besides the Quest 2, we also got some big news regarding the new upcoming VR headset from Meta, because we just found out that the Quest 3 will also have an Elite Strap accessory. This came to the relief of many long-term VR users, because probably the biggest negative point that almost everybody agrees about on the Quest 2 is the elastic head strap that comes with it directly out of the box. And the main reason for this is because of the weight distribution, making the headset feel so front heavy, like you have a brick attached to your face. But with Meta's own upgraded Elite Strap or many cheaper third-party alternatives, it makes the experience so much better. With the only downside that when you are leaning back on a sofa or bed, that the padding will kind of get in the way. And we now got some small leaks of people actually wearing a Quest 3 headset with what seems to be an Elite Strap attached to it, showing off that it is actually possible to remove the original strap. Besides that, you should also keep in mind that the front visor is more than 40% slimmer. So although that the overall weight will be the exact same, the overall slimness will still make it actually feel like there is less weight in front of your face, especially if you want to be comfortable in some long gaming sessions. But we got even more new features, with the Quest digital gift cards now available across the entire world. Now, if you're living in the US, you might have already seen this feature for a couple of months, but now it is finally available across the entire globe. And beforehand, it was just possible to gift a game title to one of your friends or family, but you weren't able to just send a gift card of a certain value, leaving the recipient with no choice of what they actually do with it. Luckily, these digital gift cards are now a standard feature for almost all headsets. And best of all, they often have actually a discount so that you can get more store credit for what you actually pay for, with the great feature included that it does not have an expiring date, so you can keep your store credit forever, and if you want, wait for your game to get an amazing discount before you pull the trigger. But we also had a big controversial news topic, with Meta later this year reducing the minimum age of having a Quest 2 from 13 years old to just 10. And although they still mentioned that children between the age of 10 and 12 will have to be set up and managed by their parent control, it still is once again a lowering of the bar of the minimum age of virtual reality. And although a lot of people think that this is a great opportunity for VR to become more public, I truly believe that this won't be a step in the right direction. And although I would love for more people to be able to experience VR, I think that certain apps and games should definitely not be accessed by people around 10 years old. Although Meta did note that their own Horizon World social VR platform will still remain 13+, and with the heavy restriction of parental control for all the other ages, I'm not sure what to personally think about it. But besides that, we also had some absolute insane VR game news, like the announcement of Assassin's Creed VR. Now, many fans have been waiting for this announcement for over many years, and Ubisoft has now finally announced their first VR game inside this franchise. Unfortunately, the only glimpse of the game that we're getting was a video that is completely computer generated, meaning it is not actual gameplay, but it does give us a sense of what they are trying to deliver, promising players to get a taste of the stealth as well as parkour, and of course their main feature being the combat. Now, we also know that the players will inhabit one of 3 different characters, that being Ezio, Cassandra, and Connor. And I'm sure we are all eager to know how Ubisoft will actually deliver on this experience. But another massive announcement is Microsoft's brand new flight simulator 2024. This is a sequel to their massive hit previous title known as the Flight Simulator 2020. But what makes it so unique is that only 4 months after its release, it got a full VR support for PC. But the sad news is that we don't know if an actual VR support will also come for the sequel, since their dedicated VR team has actually been disbanded to work on other aspects of the game. And although that might sound like very bad news, it is possible that the studio is just focusing on its launch right now and then later shift again to actually create virtual reality support. But in the meantime, we'll have to wait and see. But another big VR game announcement that surprised many of us is Arashi Castle of Sin that is coming to all major VR headsets. This game, made by none other than Skydance Interactive, has been a PlayStation VR exclusive ever since it launched. But its premise, playing as a samurai fighting your way to survive, is absolutely insane. And now coming to all other headsets, the studio also is saying that we can expect improved visuals as well as updated enemy behaviors and a ton of additional quality of life features, where you can choose all the weapons, tools and techniques and outwit your enemies as you hunt down these strong samurais. But the VR game news doesn't seem to stop, because the hit game known as Stride now will have a story mode that is coming later this year. This high-flying parkour game might remind you of PlayStation games like Mirror's Edge, but in virtual reality, it makes the experience much more realistic. And now they announced their full-featured campaign mode named Stride Fades, letting you parkour to the places like the slums, jumping from building to building as you fight to survive. But for those who played the previous versions, this high-intensity game is everything but easy. But once you got it down, making you feel like you're actually in the Matrix. And we got even more VR news, so click on the video you see right now to make sure that you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome.